If you are looking for your next queer fantasy with 4 morally grey characters, look no more. I recently finished an Incarnation of Shadow and Light by S.A. Christianson. Just want to chime in and say thank you so much to the author for reaching out to me and sending me this beautiful copy. And oh my gosh, was it a ride. I have fully enjoyed this one. I just want to say it here and now, 5 out of 5 stars. So we are following a cast of 4 characters who are incarnate. They have power either over the sun, not over the sun. They have like sun related powers and moon related powers, and they manifest during those particular hours that they're powerful. So daytime, sun powers, nighttime, moon powers, right? And we are in a sort of Victorian era of time. Hello Elsa. We're in a Victorian era of time where a couple of our characters have been dethroned. A new set of characters have been introduced, and they are fighting for the throne that they all believe to be their own. So let's read at the back for a little bit more depth on that synopsis. In the kingdom of Verschil, only a handful of people known as incarnate can use magic. Equally feared and respected, they are revered as saints and indulged like gods. But the sudden deaths of Verschil's rulers unleashes a power struggle between 4 incarnate, each seeking power to fulfill their own desires. Gabriel, a charismatic socialite who takes darker paths to avoid slipping back into powerlessness. Zoe, the daughter of a disgraced merchant determined to carve a new path for her life. Nicholas, an exiled prince trying to escape the ghosts of his past. And I think it's Silje? I'm not too sure how to pronounce it. I think the J's silent. Silje. An assassin who will stop at nothing until she sees the adoration she has always been denied. Infighting and betrayal runs rampant as each becomes worse than their problems in order to solve them. And I just want to quickly mention before I get into the meat and potatoes of this story, we have about 4 different illustrations. I'll show you one for each of the characters, and you can really see that artistic style come through. I think the author's day job is software and game design and development, if I remember correctly, and you can see that she had a beautiful eye. She didn't create these illustrations. I think she had someone else make them for her, but you can see like the art that's gone into the whole thing, if you know what I mean. So let's start with the review. When I first read the synopsis for this and a little bit of an excerpt, it came to mind Angel Mage by Garth Nix, and that's a story that I really absolutely loved. So I'm glad that all the things that I enjoyed in that was kind of similar, like fantasy wise, not plot wise, but just like the bare bones of a fantasy sort of thing was what's the word, similar in this. But obviously this is its own story. What I definitely want to say is that it had those buzzwords and themes that I enjoyed from Angel Mage in this, so that was a good start for me is what I'm saying. But it was definitely its own world, and I absolutely loved every moment in it. I loved exploring all the different political intrigue, the character developments, the betrayal, the plot twists. Everything was just so rich. So this is split up into 3 parts. Part 1, as you can understand, is more like the setup of the world. You're getting acquainted with our 2 more main characters I would say in Verschil, or Verschil. It's Gabriel and Zoe. You definitely get to meet them a little bit better and be in their headspace. At the end of that part, Gabriel was definitely one of my favourites, but I was looking forward to seeing more of Zoe. Even though we were focusing more on those 2 characters, I feel like it gave us enough personality of those that will come later on a bit more, to kind of get the gist of how the power dynamics are going to change and shift throughout the story. So I thought that was a really strong part to get you centered into the world and kind of get an idea of where the stakes are at for the characters. Part 2, as you can imagine, introduced so much more depth. We definitely centered more on Nicholas and Silje, and the plot thickened incredibly. It became completely entangled, delightfully mysterious, and this is where betrayals really sunk their teeth in. All the intricacies of the plot just deeply tightened and weaved itself together ever so much. It was phenomenal. The world building and the exploration of different like cities and different parts of the Isles were fabulously done. It all felt very rich and realistic, and like these could be real places. They all had their own customs and beliefs and different reactions towards an incarnate, whether it was outright adoration, outright hostility or somewhere in between. It was really interesting to see different viewpoints in considering these characters, especially as we're so much in their head. It was nice to get an idea of what the public thought of them in various different areas. Part 3, of course, we were all building to this climax, which was incredibly satisfying. It ramped up in pace, it ramped up in action, there was battles at every corner, the heart-to-hearts, the betrayals. Oh my god, everything was just so much more intense and heightened as we were coming to a close. I was desperately hoping there'd be a sequel, and indeed there will be a sequel, which was really nice to hear, because we definitely had a tinge of a cheeky cliffhanger. I think it could work as a standalone if things didn't work out. I'm sure they will, but you can definitely see there'll be more in this world. There's definitely scope and room for more to be explored, and characters to have more of like a story arc for their next adventures, or a bit more backstory about where they came from and how they came to be where they are in this book. At this point as well, the character development just threw me through a tizzy, because I thought I knew where my loyalties lay, but everything just, don't trust who you think you should trust, basically, going into this story. That's what you should have in mind. Hello again, Elsa. Do not trust who you think you should trust, because the plot twists were twisting, honestly. One thing I would say that kind of lost itself a little bit was I do feel this is sort of pushed as Victorian setting, Victorian era, and I can't say it really screamed Victorian to me. But in that being said, I don't know an awful amount about that place in time, sorry. So there might have been more subtleties towards the paraphernalia of the time that just went right over my head. There were definitely some bits that I thought, oh yeah, that was of its time, but generally I felt like it could be set in any historical past. Yeah, the Victorian era just didn't scream to me, but that's fine, it didn't take away my enjoyment of it. I think it was more like in the style of clothing and things like that, but I would have liked more richer descriptions to ground me in that time of place, if that makes sense, personally. The queerness in this was absolutely beautiful. There were so many different LGBTQIA plus representations. There was like non-binary, there was gay, lesbian, bisexual, probably I think there was pansexual in there as well. There was so many different identities, and I absolutely loved that. There was also quite good scope for representation of like ethnicities as well, various different skin shades. Of course, you're going across like the different aisles, so you have different people, belief, customs, all that sort of thing as well. So altogether, this was just such a really well-rounded debut fantasy novel, and I think it just hit all my trigger points that I look for in a new world, a new story, and it just did that so successfully. So yeah, I'd highly recommend this to fantasy lovers, whether you're a complete like expert in the genre or you're just dipping your toes into it for the first time. It's definitely a plus as well if you're into queer representation. It's beautiful. But yeah, once again, thank you so much to the author S.A. Christianson for reaching out to me. This has definitely been a favourite book of 2022 for me, and I'm looking forward to more to come from this world and this author as well. So you guys will have to let me know if you've read an incarnation of Shadow and Light, or if you're interested in picking it up now after seeing this video. I would love to know. But for now, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I shall speak to you in another one soon. Bye.